Sweden is preparing to send JS-39 Gripen fighter jets to Ukraine, a move that could have meaningful implications for the balance of air power in the war. This is no longer a theoretical discussion. Preparatory steps are already underway, and developments behind the scenes suggest the process is accelerating. For months, Ukraine has asked its partners for modern combat aircraft to strengthen air defense and counter Russian air operations. Now, one of Europe's most capable multi-role fighter jets may soon be part of that effort. In this video, we examine what the Gripen is, why Sweden's decision matters, and how this development could affect Russia's air campaign. Air superiority has always been a decisive factor in modern warfare. Control of the sky influences how freely ground forces can operate, how infrastructure is defended, and how effectively strikes can be carried out. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, Russia has maintained an advantage in air power, using bombers, missiles, and large numbers of drones to target Ukrainian cities and energy infrastructure. Ukraine's limited number of aircraft and aging fleet have made it difficult to fully counter these attacks. That situation could begin to change if Gripen jets are transferred. The aircraft is not only modern, but designed for high-intensity conflict against a technologically capable adversary. With a top speed of around Mach 2 and a combat radius of up to 1,500 kilometers, depending on mission profile, it is well suited for air defense, interception, and strike missions across much of Ukrainian airspace. Importantly, Sweden is not considering a symbolic transfer. Plans include spare parts, maintenance support, and logistics to sustain up to 14 aircraft, ensuring they can be actively used rather than grounded. Some analysts believe additional aircraft could follow over time, but even an initial squadron would represent a notable enhancement to Ukraine's air capabilities. This step also reflects a broader change in Sweden's security policy. For much of the past 2 centuries, Sweden pursued military no alignment, relying on strong national defense and diplomacy to remain outside major conflicts. That approach shifted after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Concerns over regional security in the Baltic Sea, combined with rising Russian military activity, prompted a reassessment of long-standing assumptions. Public opinion in Sweden changed rapidly, leading to the country's application to join NATO in 2022. This marked the end of its traditional neutrality and a move toward collective defense. Since then, Sweden has expanded military cooperation with NATO members and increased its support for Ukraine. The Gripen occupies a unique position in Sweden's defense strategy. Developed by Saab to meet Sweden's specific needs, it is designed to operate from short and improvised runways, requires relatively modest maintenance infrastructure, and is cheaper to operate than many heavier Western fighters. These features make it particularly suitable for Ukraine's current operating environment, where air bases are frequently targeted by missile strikes. Debate within Sweden has centered on how many aircraft could be spared without weakening national defense. Sweden is currently transitioning to the newer Gripen E model and plans to retire a significant number of older Gripen C and D aircraft. These earlier versions, which are combat-proven and fully NATO-compatible, are widely considered the most likely candidates for transfer. Recent budget decisions reinforce this assessment. Sweden has allocated substantial funding for Gripen maintenance, spare parts, and upgrades, including counter-drone capabilities. While officially framed as maintaining readiness, these investments would also support long-term operation by another air force. Saab has extended maintenance contracts through 2029, ensuring continued support even if aircraft are transferred. Ukrainian pilots have already undergone familiarization training on the Gripen platform. While full conversion training would take time, this early exposure suggests serious intent. Ukraine is also preparing to operate multiple Western aircraft types, including F-16s, with planners indicating that mission roles could be divided to avoid logistical overload. From a military perspective, the Gripen C and D models offer a balanced combination of air-to-air combat, ground attack capability, and survivability. While not as advanced as the Gripen E, They remain competitive against many Russian aircraft and are easier to maintain under wartime conditions. For Russia, the potential deployment of Gripens introduces new challenges. Air defense systems such as the S-400 are limited in number and already stretched across multiple regions, including Ukraine, Crimea, and Kaliningrad. Redeploying these systems to counter new threats risks leaving other areas exposed. This forces difficult trade-offs for Russian planners. Operationally, Russian aircraft would face increased risk near Ukrainian airspace. Missions would require more escorts, more planning, and greater reliance on air defenses, increasing costs and reducing operational flexibility. Over time, this added pressure could further strain Russia's air force, which is already dealing with attrition and maintenance issues. Economically, the Gripen also fits Ukraine's broader approach to asymmetric warfare. Its relatively low operating cost allows Ukraine to impose higher costs on Russian operations without matching Russia aircraft for aircraft. This mirrors Ukraine's use of drones, where inexpensive systems have successfully targeted far more costly Russian assets. Within Sweden, concerns remain about the risks involved, including cyber threats and infrastructure security. However, Swedish leaders increasingly view active deterrence as preferable to restraint. The conclusion drawn from Ukraine's experience is that neutrality alone does not guarantee security. Internationally, the move is being closely watched. Several countries operating Gripens are observing how the aircraft performs under combat conditions. For Saab, successful operational use could significantly enhance the jet's reputation and export prospects. Russia is likely to respond through a mix of military pressure, disinformation, and cyber activity. However, these measures cannot reverse the strategic shift already underway. Sweden's decision adds to a broader pattern of European states increasing their direct role in Ukraine's defense. For Ukraine, the arrival of modern fighters represents an important step toward reducing vulnerability to air attacks. While it will not eliminate all threats, improved air cover could save lives, protect infrastructure, and give Ukraine greater freedom of action. Looking ahead, the effectiveness of this decision will depend on training timelines, logistical support, and sustained Allied commitment. If implemented successfully, Gripens could become operational within months and contribute to air defense and strike missions by mid-2025. More broadly, this development reflects a shift in modern air warfare toward flexible, networked, and cost-effective platforms. Sweden's decision underscores how medium-sized states can influence strategic outcomes through targeted, well-supported contributions. Ultimately, the significance of the Gripen transfer lies not only in the aircraft themselves, but in what they represent: a stronger European role in regional security and a clear willingness to act. The air war over Ukraine is evolving, and Sweden's involvement is now part of that process.